The biggest lie in the self-improvement industry exposed. The biggest, most gigantic lie ever told in the self-help industry exposed. That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, please send your validation my way so that I can inhale it into my soul. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please hit the notification bell so that you can get more videos. Please, all other platforms, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever the platform requires. Now, to the biggest lie in the self-help industry. The biggest lie in the self-help industry is quite simple. The biggest lie is the idea that meritocracy exists. A lot of people, they want to give you these blanket statements, generalized advice, give you their perfect formula, their perfect 10 steps for success, all based on the assumption that we operate on a level playing field. Anybody with a brain knows that's not true. There are so many different variables that go into becoming successful that it's disingenuous to say that you know exactly how to change someone's life in an exact way at an exact time with an exact formula. That being said, there are definitely principles that you can follow. You can definitely make educated guesses and create timelines that you can follow and that you can more often or not hit the mark if you do things right and consistently. There is a general pattern to where if you work on self-improvement for a long enough time, it's going to work. But I think what insults people a little bit is not honoring the place that they're coming from first before you try to give self-help advice. Like, take someone like me, for example. I'm in the category of a black male. Not exactly the most successful category of human beings in our society, right? But I also have a lot of things going for me that other people know. It's clear that I'm articulate and have high levels of cognitive ability. That's just self-evident. You can tell. I grew up middle class. I didn't grow up poor. I didn't grow up in poverty. I'm natural when it comes to being in front of a camera. I don't use a script. Anytime when I go on a video, I just come on and I can think quickly and I adapt on the fly. So there are things that I didn't earn. There are abilities that I didn't earn that make it easier for me to be more successful in certain routes than other people would do if they tried doing the same thing. That being said, there are a lot of things I'm horrible at, which is why I always talk about staying in your lane. I know my lane. I know my lane is words and vocabulary and communication and articulation and speaking and writing and marketing. I know where my wheelhouse is. I have an unfair advantage in that wheelhouse, no doubt. So you have to find an area where you have an unfair advantage. And on top of that, we can be frank about it. Sometimes you are not in a position where you have an unfair advantage. Sometimes you might have to admit that you just have an average level of cognitive ability. You might even have a below level of cognitive ability. You might not be that naturally intelligent, and you have to operate from that perspective and just be honest with yourself. There was a guy named Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker, really, really powerful motivational speaker. And part of his story is very powerful because he was not equipped mentally with the tools that everyone else might have. He got his degree. He got a 4-year degree. It took him 12 years to get the degree. 12 years to get a 4-year degree because he just couldn't think quickly enough to be able to go the trodden path of someone with a quote unquote average level of intelligence, although I'd argue intelligence comes in many different forms, but I'm talking about the book smart kind. So he realized that there's not a level playing field. He realized that the playing field wasn't level in certain aspects because of his DNA. He was also a black male who did grow up impoverished, who did grow up with an abusive mother, who did grow up with a lot more problems than I have. So he knew very well that the world he lived in and that the circumstances that he was given didn't resemble a meritocracy at all. But he still went through and did the work. David Goggins, another guy. You've probably heard of David Goggins. He's the guy crazy military guy who lost like 200 pounds, goes on ultra marathons, is a Navy SEAL, all this crazy stuff, right? I was listening to a podcast he was doing, and he was basically talking about the fact that he was so learning disabled that he would spend 12 to 14 hours a day essentially memorizing information from textbooks by copying the textbooks word for word multiple times. And he didn't actually learn the information. This is what he said. He basically copied down information to the point that he just developed rote memorization of things he didn't understand so that he was able to answer questions to exams and pass so that he could get into the military and do things like that. There are different situations that affect all of us. You're not given a fair shake in this life. Some people start way ahead of you. Luck is a huge factor in success. There's different variables that come. I tell my story all the time. Yes, I put in the work and I spent 5 years learning how to become a writer, but I didn't even give myself the opportunity to write. A friend reached out to me and luckily asked me to write for his website, so I did. And then I never stopped after that, but that opportunity that I was given was complete chance. You're going to have opportunities in your life that were complete chance too, but whether or not you seize them, whether or not you do engage with that person who comes into your life, whether or not you do engage with that opportunity that comes into your life, whether or not you are present and aware to understand that you're looking at an opportunity in the first place. Like I also say in my story, I was working on self-improvement and just making my life better because my life was shitty. So I just got into self-help for the sole purpose of just trying to figure out how to fix my life. And then I started sharing the things I was learning online, which led to someone reaching out to me. So he gave me that opportunity, but I was reaching out. I was putting that energy into the universe. So even if life is unfair to you, you have to understand the energy you're putting out into the universe at the same time. I know you're not getting a fair shake. I know that most people in this society are given shitty hands by the way that we live. People are going into debt, tens and $50,000 and $100,000 for going to college to not get a good job. Basically indentured servitude. And then some people are going to say something like, well, they should have known what type of decision they were making. As if they don't remember how stupid they were when they were 18 years old. Giving a $100,000 loan to someone whose prefrontal cortex is not fully formed is evil and criminal, and they're doing it. Healthcare in the country, completely screwed up. Half the people are not quitting their jobs simply because they can't afford to lose the healthcare that's provided from their employers. See, the self-help guru won't mention that. The self-help guru won't mention that there are real tangible barriers keeping you from making tough decisions. Theoretically, you have the choice to just up and quit your job, but it's disingenuous to make it seem like it's a 50-50 choice. Like there's not weight to that. Like you don't have a family to take care of. Like you don't want to keep your health insurance so you avoid a health catastrophe. That's why I tell people, keep your job, work on your project on the side until you get it to the point where it is so successful that you can quit your job. You're not going to quit your job in 6 months. It might take 6 years, and you might have to do it from a place of unfairness. It's not necessarily fair of me to ask a single mother with 2 kids to wake up 2 hours before going to work at her retail job to work on some side project. She's probably tired as fuck. It's not fair of me to give blanket prescriptions for someone who's in poverty coming from a place of growing up middle class and literally having more access to resources than they do. But at the same time, while I can't directly put myself in the shoes of that person, I can only come back to the refrain that I give to anyone. It is your life. I do know people who have come out of poverty to create great situations for themselves, and not just like Oprah and these big rags to riches examples. There's a lot of people that I follow on Twitter who grew up in the ghetto, but they, some of them joined the military to get their life right. Some of them became athletes. Some of them just went to school and graduated and got scholarships in spite of such a negative, toxic environment. And then they took those skills and used them to build businesses and create financial freedom. So the possibility of you getting on the other side, that's definitely there. But the degree of difficulty, so to speak, varies from person to person. And I don't know how hard that is for you. You could be dealing with a number of things, socioeconomic situations, what you look like, what kind of resources you have, what kind of network you have, what kind of health you have, both physical and mental. Some people are, given things that they didn't ask for just in terms of their DNA. So it's not fair. The world that we live in is not fair. To give you self-help advice as a generalized blanket statement is not fair. And that's not what I'm ever going to do. I'm never going to do that. What I'm going to do is first honor your reality and then try to give you the tools that you need to change your life based on where you're at. So your timeline, instead of 4 years, might be 12 years. Your timeline might include an infinite amount of baby steps that other people simply didn't have to take. And I'm not going to lie. Oftentimes, just by nature of the society we live in, the cards are stacked against you. In many ways, the game is rigged. I talk about this in my book. The way that society is set up, it is set up for you to fail. It is set up to get you caught in debt traps, whether it be college, car notes, mortgages, consumer debt. And again, it's not easy decisions to avoid those. They have Harvard and MIT and Ivy League scientists, engineers, and computer programmers working on how to control your mind, and they're updating it on a daily basis at scale. These people know you. The people who pull the puppet strings of society know more about you than you know about yourself. That's the world that you live in. That's the game that you are playing right now. Don't get it twisted. They want you to be addicted to the news and social media. They want you to eat food that is going to dramatically decrease the quality of your health. They literally, I have a section in this about my book, they literally hire people to figure out how to make the most addictive and shittiest food possible at the lowest price. Then they pass it over to the marketing division to figure out how to advertise it until it is so deep in the recesses of your brain that you think you're making the choice to eat that shit. And then they have the news, which does nothing more than outrage you, because they know that high arousal emotions get the most clicks. They know exactly, down to the button color on a website, what will agitate you the most and keep you distracted from fulfilling your purpose. This game is all about distraction. They have to keep you distracted, because if you weren't so distracted with everything that you have going on, you'd look around and you'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? This ain't it. This isn't the life that I want to live. This isn't what I was aiming for. So they put all those distractions around you to keep you asleep. And they do a pretty effective job. And it's not your fault if you fall for it. Don't kick yourself and feel bad. This is a lot to deal with. Being someone in society alone without the silver spoon in your mouth is a lot to deal with. They're putting hooks in you from all angles. That's why I'm putting this channel together, to help people realize that they are in the matrix, and that the process of unplugging from the matrix and being aware of how the world really is can be painful. And the changes that you'll need to make can be painful. And, oftentimes my work, it borders on being brutal with the honesty that I try to provide, because the sugar-coated advice doesn't work. The self-help guru smiling saying, "Hey, Jimmy, you can do it. It's bullshit, and we all know it." That's why people are so jaded about the process, because no one's telling them the truth. Everyone's making everything seem simpler than it is. Self-help is not simple. It is primarily ineffectual. And in order to get it done, you will have to essentially brainwash yourself for a long period of time just to deal with the whirlwind of bullshit that comes with being a human being. I get it. I want you to know that I get it. And I want you to know that I'm on your side trying to help. And I know that I can make so many videos, and I can see exactly why the motivation would go up and then fade, because you have to live your life. You have all this stuff in the in-between that just throws you off. It's enough for anybody to throw up their hands and just say, I get why people just check out of life. It makes total sense why people just check out of life, go to work every day to the job they hate, eat the shitty food, go home to the loveless marriage, have the barbecues and drinks on the weekends and cigarettes and cocaine and whatever they need to do to take their mind off of this fucking Bermuda Triangle of brainwashing that comes down from society. I get it. But there's you, and there's your life, and there are the steps that you are going to take or not take, and there's the life that you're going to live or not live. And I know it isn't fair. I know there's not a level playing field, but you still have to play the game. I read a tweet, it was really good. It said, we're all in the game of life, and you think that not making any moves means you're not in the game. No, failing to make a move is also a move. You pay a penalty for staying the same. You don't get to be neutral in this game. If you're stagnant, you are going to continue to descend. There's no such thing as completely checking out, because your life will continue to devolve in many ways if you settle and try to check out. And you know what I'm talking about. Health problems compound and get worse. Financial problems compound and get worse. Spiritual, mental, and emotional problems, if left unchecked, if the dull level of malaise is left unchecked, it spirals and grows worse. You are in a fight for your fucking life. Some people don't like my cursing. Whatever. This is an important message. And I often use cursing to startle you awake to what's going on. So no, there is no meritocracy. No, there are no 10 simple steps. No, the game you're playing is not fair. But you have no choice to play it, so you might as well play it the best way you possibly can. Okay! You 2.0 is the book that can help you reinvent yourself, that can give you the cold, hard truth about what it takes to change. YouTube, like, comment, send me validation. I need it. I will see you on the next video.